You won't go broke with one purchase. You end up going broke because of the upgrades. The most dangerous expense in your life isn't the one you see on the receipt. It's the one that comes after it. And today, I'm going to show you how one robe destroyed a fortune and how the same invisible force is quietly draining yours. Here's the problem. You think you buy things because you need them. You don't. You buy stuff because you feel like your other stuff isn't enough. If you upgrade one object, the whole thing suddenly looks wrong. That tension, that discomfort, that's the trigger. And once it starts, it rarely stops on its own. This phenomenon has a name, the Diderot effect, and it's destroyed more wealth than any market crash ever could.
Dramatic expansion. Denis Diderot. France, 1765. Denis Diderot was a philosopher, an intellectual giant, and a co-founder of the Encyclopédie. He was a man of great ideas, but had an empty wallet. Diderot lived a simple life with a worn desk, thin carpets, and plain wooden chair. His old robe was covered in ink stains, but he was free. Then, Catherine the Great of Russia offered to buy his entire library for a substantial amount, about $50,000 in today's money. Overnight, Diderot transitioned from a thinker to a well-off scholar. And then he did something remarkably human. He bought a robe. Not just any robe, but a scarlet one, luxurious, elegant, and almost regal. He brought it home, put it on, and looked in the mirror. For the first time, he felt important. However, when he sat at his old desk, the illusion shattered. The desk was scratched, stained, and ugly. While the robe made him feel like a king, the desk made him feel embarrassed. This contrast created psychological friction. So he decided to replace the desk. But then the carpet looked mismatched next to the new desk. So he replaced the carpet. Next came the curtains, then the chair, the art, and finally the mirrors. He ended up rebuilding his world around that robe, room by room, object by object. Before he knew it, his money was gone. He later wrote, "I was the absolute master of my old robe, but I became the slave of my new one." That line isn't about fabric. It's all about identity.
Identity economics. Here's what most people miss. The Diderot effect isn't about spending. It's all about keeping your brand consistent. People like to be able to make sense of things. When something high status enters your life, it changes who you see yourself as. Once the baseline changes, everything below it feels like a threat. Your brain doesn't like it when things are inconsistent. If you see yourself as someone who owns a luxury apartment, cheap furniture just doesn't seem to fit. If you see yourself as the kind of person who drives a Porsche, budget sunglasses can feel a bit embarrassing. You're not upgrading objects, you're defending a story, and narratives cost a lot.
Here's an example of how it's done now. Luxury apartment, spiral style. Let's say you move into a luxury apartment. Rent's gone up from $1,800 to $3,200 per month. You're the one justifying it. It's in a better spot. It's all about networking. It's motivation. But here's what happens next. Your old IKEA couch looks terrible in that minimalist marble lobby building, so you finance a $4,000 sectional. Now the couch needs a matching coffee table, $900. Now your cheap floor lamp looks ridiculous next to it, $300. Now your friends come over. You can't serve wine in mismatched glasses after all, $250. Your wardrobe starts to feel off. You live in a luxury building now, so you upgrade. Clothes, shoes, and gym membership. In a year, your monthly living costs will have gone up by $1,500.
That's $18,000 a year. Invested at 8% over 20 years, that's over $900,000 in lost future value. It's all because of an address. The apartment was the ruin.
Just a quick question. Ever cleaned your whole house just because one guest was coming over? Exactly. One thing changed and suddenly everything else felt wrong. That's the Diderot effect, but on a smaller scale. Just picture what that would do to your finances over 30 years.
Here's another modern example: a wedding upgrade spiral. On average, a wedding in the US today costs around $30,000, but almost no one starts there. It starts with, we just want something simple. Then there's the venue, which costs $8,000. So the dress has to be simple, $3,000. Now the photographer has to match the aesthetic, $5,000. Now guests expect a certain experience. We've also improved our catering, premium bar. The number is going up, $45,000, $60,000. Half of couples take on debt, not because they planned to, because each upgraded piece meant the next one was needed. It wasn't about love, it was about narrative symmetry.
This is a micro case with numbers. Let's take a look at a small one. You buy a $2,000 watch. Not crazy, not exactly billionaire territory, but here's the hidden math. That watch makes you look a bit odd when you're wearing $40 shirts. So you buy 5 shirts for $150. That's $750. Then you notice your shoes look tired. $300. You're starting to feel a bit out of place at casual restaurants. You upgrade date nights. That'll set you back an extra $200 a month. That $2,000 watch led to $5,000 to $7,000 of spending in just 1 year. And what about compounding over a decade at 7%? There's a difference of over $100,000 in net worth. There's a slight shift in the baseline. It'll cost a bomb in the long run. Psychological core. Upgrades can lead to dissatisfaction. Before the upgrade, you were fine. After the upgrade, you might feel like your old life doesn't measure up. And here's where it gets risky. You think that being unhappy is a sign of success, but sometimes it just gets out of hand. If you don't grow your income, you're in a pretty weak position.
Here's the lowdown on our expanded protection strategy. You can't get rid of the Diderot effect, but you can build financial firewalls. Here's one strategy. Think about the system's cost. Don't ever ask, can I afford this item? Ask, can I afford the ecosystem? Just to be clear, if the ecosystem costs 3 times the item, you need to calculate that number first. If you haven't got the money for the system, you also can't afford the trigger. The second strategy is all about who you are before anything else. Just a heads up, it's probably a good idea to decide on your financial situation before you buy symbols. If you see yourself as someone who's into low-maintenance wealth building, then luxury symbols don't really resonate with you. So when you're planning your story, make sure you've got a clear idea of where you want to take it. If not, the marketing team will sort it out for you. The third strategy is the delayed baseline rule. When you upgrade something major, put all the related upgrades on hold for 6 months. Unfortunately, there are no matching accessories, no aesthetic corrections. Let the discomfort sit. Most impulses die when they're not fed. The fourth strategy is to keep things understated. Drive a bit below your means. Try to live a little bit more modestly than your colleagues. Wear slightly less than you can afford. This means you'll have less money to live on. If you're under more pressure in your day-to-day life, you're more likely to invest more. If you invest more, you'll have more options. Optionality is the real power. Here's a quick summary of what we've discussed. The robe wasn't expensive. The cascade was. The apartment isn't the problem. The identity escalation is. The wedding isn't the problem. The narrative inflation is. You don't go broke buying things. You go broke maintaining stories.
Just be careful about what baseline you're raising, because every baseline demands tribute.
Call to action. If this video makes you think differently about your next purchase, give it a like. If you're interested in more of this kind of financial psychology, why not subscribe to Captain Capital? So here's what I want to know. What was the purchase that set off the biggest spending chain reaction in your life? I'm reading all the comments. Don't go for the robe. First, you need to get the basics right. See you in the next one.